folks, Canadian Prepper here, coming to you from my lair, one of my lairs, where we keep some of the stuff we sell at CanadianPreparedness.com, and probably one of the best places to be in the apocalypse. Anyways, I wanted to make a video today about a variety of things, okay? Because information is the most important thing, I think, when it comes to preparedness. Awareness is preparedness. Especially in the acute phase of crisis, it's important to know exactly what is actually going on. Now, if you haven't noticed, I don't make videos on the daily. I was going to start doing that on the Cyberpunk YouTube channel. I just got a little sidetracked. I'm trying to build out a studio for that specific purpose. So hold on, don't worry, it's coming. It's going to be more topical content, going over the latest news and things of that nature. But for myself personally, in order for me to feel confident in making a video like this, I need to ingest at least 100 times the amount of time that it takes me to do the video in terms of information, filter it through thine brain, and then give it to you. So I might need to listen to 10 hours of audiobook or 10 hours of documentaries and discussions on various issues before I feel confident coming out and making a video which is opinionative, okay? So that's why I don't do it on the daily. Now, there's a lot of information nowadays. We have the information superhighway at our fingertips, and that's been a mixed blessing, because what often happens is that when the mainstream media comes out with a narrative, we can view that as the thesis. Okay, I didn't learn a whole lot in university that's practical right here and now, but I did learn a few things about logic. And what often happens is the hegemonic ruling power comes out with a thesis of what is going on in the world. And immediately, within 24 hours, the alternative media will come out with a antithesis or an antithesis. Now, oftentimes, this is a polar opposite to what the mainstream media is saying about something. And why this is so important, because let's face it, we're living in times where there's some strange things happening, and there's some contradictions happening in terms of certain laws which are being imposed, and a lot of people can see it, and a lot of people are becoming very suspicious as to what's going on. Now, I have my suspicions as to what's going on, but I haven't quite dialed it down yet. I haven't quite nailed it down, so I'm not going to come out here and pretend like I have the answers. The problem is that when the media proposes a thesis, the mainstream, okay, they have their general thesis, which even though Fox News might disagree with NBC, they kind of agree about the main core stuff, right? But then the alternative media will tend to come out with a antithesis, and oftentimes people get behind it almost immediately, okay? Just because I don't necessarily think it's driven by the desire to be contrarian. It's just a simple distrust of everything that the mainstream says. But on a long enough timeline, what we find is that the truth is somewhere in the middle. The truth is the synthesis between what the mainstream said and what the alternative media said. Oftentimes it takes maybe a couple of years even for what the alternative media was theorizing to actually come true in some way, shape, or form. So what I'm trying to say here is that I would advise against immediately taking alternative viewpoints because you distrust the mainstream. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of truth dilution that goes on, but there's also, propaganda works both ways. And while you can be critical of the thesis, that doesn't mean you have to dig a trench in the antithesis camp, and die on that hill necessarily. Okay, the truth might be something that you're not even thinking about. And let me tell you something. If I was ruling over a people, okay, and I wanted to preserve my power, let's say I was a king somewhere, and I wanted to give the illusion of democracy, well, what I might do if I knew there was going to be opposition to me is that I would try to get ahead of that somehow. You know, I would try to I would try to foment a movement which appeared to be grassroots, or at least maybe if not leading it, be highly influential within that movement to the point where I could effectively steer it and be my own criticism. That's called controlled opposition. Okay. Which side is that happening on? I don't know. I'm just saying that it's another level of the game that you need to think about. It's not as simple as, you're going on the internet with your confirmation bias, doing what you call research, which is usually not adherent to the scientific process at all. It's just you going out and seeking information which confirms what you already believe. That's not research, okay? Doing research requires a lot more scrutiny than just going and believing something that that kind of coincides with your distrust of the government in the mainstream. Now, I get it. I understand the distrust. I'm just saying, in doing that, you can be led down paths that maybe are actually pulling you away further from what's actually going on. Okay, and you might just be a pawn in the game and not even realize it. That's part of the problem, is that a lot of people think it's just black and white. But it's far more nuanced than that. And as I've often said before on this channel, the people who are running the world right now, the people with the most power and influence, they don't care about left, right. They don't care about what type of religion you are. They care about one thing: power and money. But money is really just a means to power, okay? Which is why a lot of the billionaires are trying to get together to bring in this UBI, because they realize, look, we don't want our homes burnt down and people coming on our lawn with pitchforks. So let's just throw them a bit of cash, even out the distribution of wealth a little bit, keep them off our backs for a little bit. That's what they're saying. And this is not me saying this. This is billionaires saying this, because they know what's going to happen if they don't do that. There's going to be instability, and this unrest is going to continue, and it's going to basically bring down a system which is already dying. Okay, there's a reason why by the year 2030, and this should worry everybody who's on this side of the fence, China is going to have double the GDP projected of the United States, and India is going to be close to that too. So that's only 10 years away. 2030 is not far away. And what that's going to look like then in 2040, well, I'll leave that to your imagination, okay? But it's not as simple as you think, because there's two ways you can control people. People are throwing around this meme right now, infectious disease 1984. Well, for those of you who've read 1984, you know that the dystopian world that's depicted within that movie or book or whatever is based on coercion. It's based on punishment, and it's based on controlling people through deprivation, through rations, right? You get control by coercing people and by limiting their rights and freedoms and by putting a camera everywhere, like one right here, right now. But there's another way you can control people too, and that's the Huxleyan way, the way which was depicted in the book The Brave New World, where instead of controlling people through deprivation, you control people through abundance. So it works both ways. You can control people through the frivolous pursuit of sensations and just fun and more entertainment and nonstop information, okay, like what we have nowadays. Slap them in a VR headset and hook them up to some IV protein carbohydrate mixture and just let them do their thing. They clock in for their 40 hours at their mindless job, and for the rest of the time, give them this virtual world where they can basically go and do whatever they want. That's the whole basis for the whole Oculus thing, which is going to be released soon, the Oculus 2 through Facebook. And there's a whole new world of things coming with augmented reality and virtual reality in this decade, which is going to be eerily timely with respect to this whole, everybody indoors and everybody apart from everybody else. But I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, that's because, the New World Order, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot more complicated than that. Things are more complicated than that, okay? if you just presume that the people in charge are, evil and, they don't want you around, then look, there's ways they probably could have got rid of you a long time ago. Okay. But it's not as easy as that. Things that I'm learning in life, things are never that cut and dry. They're never that simple. Now, you can just go off on that on a rant, but it's not going to get you anywhere, I can assure you. And there's a strategy used in the art of war, and it's that if you want to avoid being attacked, you want to appear stronger than you actually are. So when you're running around calling people the Illuminati and claiming that, they can't be surmounted, that they can't be overthrown, that they're too powerful, that they control everything, then you're basically conceding a lot of power right when you admit that thing. So the first thing is recognizing that, yes, okay, there's certainly a power vacuum there, and people are not hard to control nowadays. As we've talked about, you can control them through distraction and abundance, or you can control them through coercion. Right now, the Western model is control people with distraction, just non-stop conveyor belt of information to make your head spin, okay? And you never get a peaceful moment because there's always something new in the news, something to keep you busy. But just remember that they're people too. They put their pant legs on one leg at a time, and they probably go to the washroom as many times a day as you do. So don't give who you think to be the powers that be too much power, is all I'm saying. And just try to keep a level head with things, because if you go too far off the deep end and you put all your eggs in one basket, you believe that this is all a hoax or something like that. If you believe that, there's a big danger there. It might be something that that is not even popular in the alternative media or the mainstream media. The real reason. There may well be a real reason for all the concern here. Now, one of the theories that I floated is that it's potentially related to the fact that maybe there's some long-term effects of this disorder that we simply don't know yet. And now I listen to talks, roundtable discussions with world experts in this field. Okay, not just going, on some fringe website, finding some ostracized doctor and believing everything they say. Yes, I'll listen to them and I'll hear them out, but I'll scrutinize that as well. And I will cross-reference that with what the experts are saying. And I'm starting to think that there's definitely something else going on. I don't know what it is. I'm guessing it's either geopolitical in nature with respect to what I alluded to before about the new superpowers emerging in the future, or this is actually worse than we know, and that it may seem like a relatively innocuous illness in the short term, but there's potential dire long-term consequences that we're just unaware of. That's a possibility, and which is incredibly scary when you think about it, because nobody's going to do this whole social distance song and dance forever. Eventually the majority of people are going to get it. Now, I've heard from one of the top virologists in the world, apparently, that at one of these roundtable discussions, that they think that there's a possibility that we can achieve herd immunity at 25%. I don't know the specifics of it, something with respect to how the disease clusters and how contagious it actually is. Now, that seems promising, but it doesn't explain, what some people believe to be a bit of overreach. But I think there's a reason for everything that's happening right now. And I just think keep an open mind and don't just believe something just because it's the antithesis, because remember, it on a long enough timeline, it always comes back to the synthesis. Like I've bragged about this before. I've been on the internet for 20 years. I used to be that guy who would go to the party and, fill everybody's heads with all the things that I heard on the internet. Okay, I used to be that guy. Since then, I've leveled off. And even then, I still would say that I had a bit of restraint when I did it. I tried not to, I tried to always think of, okay, well, is what I'm being told propaganda as well? Because it works both ways. Yes, there's a tight-knit media conglomerate that acts as a filter for most of the information that we are exposed to and verifies and validates things. Yes, that's true. But there's also opposition, and there's potentially controlled opposition. And not all the opposition is as good as what they're opposed to, fundamentally, ideologically, religiously, whatever. So just keep these things in mind. So, I'm sorry I'm not making videos every day on the regular. It's because I'm thoughtful. That's why. I like to think, and I can't just, I have a hard time just dropping bombs all the time. Now, what I'm going to do with this cyberpunk channel is, it's like I say, it's going to be topical. It's going to be me, assessing different news stories that I hear, sharing my opinions on them, that sort of thing. And hopefully I naturally grow into that like a lot of commentators do here on YouTube. So expect that, in the next month or so. I'm going to be uploading more to Cyberpunk, don't get me wrong, in between that time, but it's going to be more consistent after that. Now, I want to also give you guys a heads up. I have a video coming out this Sunday. It's about the different types of criminal threats in an SHTF situation. So kind of a bit of a throwback to the After the Collapse type video that I used to do. And it's going to be all about the criminology of SHTF, and based on some things that we've learned already that have happened this year, and just informed through my own general research about the topic. So stick around for that. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And if you want to support the channel, check out CanadianPreparedness.com. The best gear at the best prices when you use coupon code SURVIVALPREPPER, all caps. Thanks for watching, guys. Canadian Prepper.